everybody. I'm here with one of my best buddies ever, Kimberly McElroy, and she is with Ocala World Realty. Is that right?
Ocala Realty
Why
World.
do I always get that backwards?
I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah, and I asked Kimmy, I call her Kimmy, but she goes by Kimberly on her professional name. But I've asked Kimmy to come in and sit down, and I'd love to have a chance to introduce you to Kimmy. And I've worked with you now for what, about 4 years? How
Yeah,
long? Yeah,
yeah, about 4 years.
I think almost since I started working here at Prime Lending. I think you were one of my first agents that we
hmm
started working together with, and she's been a dear friend ever since. And we enjoy working together. But so I just want to kind of let you guys know a little bit about her and give her a little bit of information as far as you know. Kimmy, what are you looking at right now with the market? And well, first of all, tell me this: how long have you actually been in real estate?
Well, I got my real estate license in 2017,
Hmm.
and
So you were not an agent prior to 2017?
I was not.
Oh wow, and you do so well.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're so
Thank
good
you.
at it.
I've always been
I
interested
I
in real
always
estate.
thought you would be. I always thought you had done it much longer than that.
No, it's probably because had an interest in it for so long.
Well, that's probably how we connected because you had just gotten the business when we started here at Prime Lending.
Right.
Very cool, very cool. What'd you do before that?
Oh gosh, many things. I was a substitute teacher and I had a daycare. It was
Oh my
mainly I
gosh.
followed my children.
Okay.
Okay, so once they were grown and out of the house,
Yeah.
then I went into the career I always wanted.
Oh, how cool is that? Now, were you living here at the time, or
Yes.
so you've always been in Florida?
Oh, when they were little, you mean?
Yeah.
I thought you meant when I got my license. Um, no, we lived in Pennsylvania, then we lived in Georgia.
That's what I thought. Now your family's in Georgia now.
Yes.
Do you have family here too?
No.
No, they're all in Georgia.
Yes.
Yeah, because I know you always go there. So
Yes, I
and
do.
see all the grandkids
Yeah.
and do all the birthday parties and all the holidays.
Right.
Yeah. Did you have them here for Thanksgiving?
I did. They were all here.
Oh wow,
hmm
big group, big
Yep.
group. How many people?
14.
Oh my gosh. Did you do all the cooking?
No, actually, some of the girls did some of the cooking. So I rented the house behind me.
Oh, cool.
So we had two kitchens and they were back there making some stuff. And I
That's
was
the way
in
to do
my,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was really nice.
So what made you get into real estate?
Well, my husband nagged me about it for years,
Okay.
ever since probably around 2005, 2006. And I kept saying, oh, I'm too busy with the kids, the kids, the kids. And then I started thinking, well, they're getting a little bit older. Maybe I'll go ahead and give it a whirl. And then 2008 hit. And
Well, why did he think you should get into it?
he said it was because of my personality
Yeah.
and the way I can talk to people and how
Mhm.
much I care about people.
Yep.
And he thought it just would be a great career for me.
Scary though, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
So you started it in 2017 when you moved to Florida?
Yes, I actually lived here for about 4 years before I got in real estate.
Oh, okay.
Because I came down kicking and screaming, didn't want to move away from my grandbabies.
Right.
And so I told my husband, I said, that's it. I'm retired. I'm not doing anything. And then that got really boring. So then I decided, hey, why don't I do what I've always wanted to do?
And you went to Ocala World Realty.
Yep.
Realty World, excuse me.
Yep.
And is that the only place you've been?
No, I worked at Foxfire.
Okay.
For the first year.
Okay. So you've been there since.
I was at Foxfire and then right to Ocala Realty World.
Okay, and you've been there since.
Yep.
Yep. And where do you live? Is it in the Villages?
In the Villages,
okay.
Yes.
So is that where you like to service your clients?
Yes, I do like to work with retired people, and I'm a senior real estate specialist.
And what does that mean?
It just means that I specialize in the seniors, because they all have different sorts of needs. Anything from, having to move from their home to move into a retirement home, or even just coming down here from another state for the first time, in their early
a little hand
50s.
holding.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you're that person?
I am that person.
You take good care of them?
I do.
I know you do. I know you do. I've seen it firsthand. So now you're specialized in the Villages, but you kind of do everything, right?
I do. I actually concentrate on the seniors, and I have the 55 plus communities, all the way down into Tavares and
Oh, okay.
all the way up here into Ocala.
Okay.
But I do have a lot of families too. I
Mm-hmm.
do reach out to them as well, and I have I'm under contract with a few families right now, and one in the villages as well.
Okay. And you do a lot of builder business too,
I
right?
do.
You do. So
Hmm.
is it all new construction with the yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So you do that business as well. So you're kind of
Yes.
a good mix of what you do.
Right, because
Yeah.
a lot of times people will start looking and not really know what they want,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to be able to be knowledgeable on all the different
Yeah.
things that are out there for them.
Well, what have you seen since you started in 2017? How have you seen the market
Oh
shift?
my goodness, it's gone crazy. I
Right?
mean, it kind of was like even keeled up until 2020, and then
Mm-hmm.
it just started going nuts. And 2021 was unbelievable.
Yep.
Um, just running around like crazy, and people trying to buy, and the cash buyers were winning all the
All the deals.
contracts, and
Mm-hmm.
my sellers were getting way over asking price. It
Yep.
was just a crazy busy
Yeah,
market.
I think I've said it a couple of times with some of the other agents that they have come in and done this. It was really a wild, wild west show
It
in
was
20 and 2021. And again, who in their wildest dreams would have ever thought we would be so busy during a pandemic? I mean,
right,
not to mention the fact that we've never experienced a pandemic before in our
right,
lifetime.
right.
And then, but that was the busiest we ever were in real estate.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing now?
So now I'm seeing, well, I saw like an almost a screeching halt a few months back,
Yep.
and that was, an eye popper. Like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And then they're starting to pick up
Mm-hmm.
now. Again, they're starting to realize, hey, maybe it is the time to buy, because the time to buy is when you need to buy.
Yeah.
Period.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's starting to
And you
pick back
can't
up.
really wait. You can't keep waiting for something to change in the market, because the beauty of real estate, whether it's buying or selling real estate, or whether it's what I do on the financing side, it is it's not just a matter of we're only going to be in this house for this amount of time, or we're only going to be in this loan for this amount of time. It's a very fluid business. And this is a reason why, people who buy today, they're buying still with good equity.
Hmm.
So the people that bought the last 2 years, even though they may have paid a lot more for it, I just got an appraisal in yesterday, and the purchase price was 475, and it came in at 505.
Hmm.
So the values are still going up. Things are still it's I think that if you're a buyer today, or a seller, you just, to your point, you just have to make that decision. Do you want the house, or do you need to sell the house? Quit waiting,
Right.
because we don't know what's going to happen
We
in
don't.
next year. We don't know is it going to be better? Is it going to be worse? It doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Do you need a place to live?
There you go.
Yes. And I know one of my other friends, Gabby Vance, when she and I were talking, we were talking about how with people moving in and moving into the area, she thinks that we're going to see even a bigger influx of people coming into the state from New York and all that. She thinks we're going to see a big influx the first quarter of next year too, which I've seen probably in the last, I don't know, last 30 days. I've started getting more phone calls again,
Hmm.
because to your point, it did. I mean, the faucet turned off,
It did.
the phones died. I
Hmm.
mean, we were like, where did the buyers
I
go?
know. I
Where
was
did
listening to crickets.
and then and it was almost to a point where, and I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, it was like there was this big disconnect
Hmm.
between sellers and buyers. You can get listings all day right now,
Hmm.
but we weren't getting the buyers.
Right.
And so now I've noticed in probably the last 3 weeks, buyers are coming back out again.
They
The
are.
rates came down a little bit
Hmm.
recently, so it gave them a little bit of
Nudge.
a little bit of confidence builder that, hey,
Right.
maybe it's now I want to do it. And so to everybody's dismay, in June of this year, I mean, it just kind of went the wrong direction for us in our business. But I think we're starting to see some positive impacts now.
We
Yeah.
definitely are. I just within the last 2-3 weeks, I've gone under 4 contracts. So
So see there, yeah. So, and is that more than you've had in the last couple of
months.
months.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Now
Absolutely.
you do a lot of listings too, right?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
you do focus on listings as well.
Hmm.
So what are you telling your sellers right now as far as what to expect?
Well, it all depends on where they're listed.
Hmm.
But for example, this one area where they're listed, I had suggested to the seller that she consider paying closing costs,
Hmm.
or up to 3%,
Yeah.
and they can put that towards closing costs, prepaids, or they buy
Buy down the
downs.
rate. Yep.
They can choose, what they
Yep.
want, and because I think buyers are saying, well, the interest rate, and kind of panicking with that, and then it also helps with their out of pocket money.
Yeah.
They don't have to have as much out of pocket money, rather than bringing down the price of the house more, because it's perfect where it is.
Yeah. The values are
The
good.
values are good. And so I said to her, why don't we, give that a whirl?
Hmm.
So we just changed that.
What are you telling them about time on the market?
Well,
Because it's changing.
absolutely changing. I never used to have a house on the market longer than 2 or 3 weeks.
Hmm.
And now it's, more like 60 days.
Yeah. So why do you think that's happening? What's creating that delay from what we saw before? Because I mean, if you take, I mean, now that I know that you've only been in the business since 2017, you're a baby. But even in 2017, 18, it was a normal market.
Yes.
So if we take out 2020 and 2021 and say that was an abnormality,
It wasn't.
that we can't count that as what the norm should be.
Right.
Um, what what they're seeing today, I think, is more normal.
Getting to be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
not quite normal yet. This is our in season, and we usually do see a little bit more busyness.
So is it because the people aren't, everybody that was coming is here? Or is it because, I mean, the snowbirds are here, right?
You can tell that by the traffic.
Yes, they're here. Um, what I'm hearing, if I have friends that do business or sell houses a lot in the villages, even those houses are sitting,
Yes,
45 to 60
surprisingly
days,
so.
and that has never been a case where those,
No.
especially. But I think when I'm talking to some of my agent friends and we're talking about what do you have to tell a seller right now, what do we have to talk about with listings, and what are the real expectations, there, I think the sellers took a little bit of time to finally digest the fact that, okay, they're not going to get what they got in 2021, in the beginning of 2022, but can they still make a really good um, return of investment on their property? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But do they have to not get discouraged if it may take 60 days? No,
No.
because that's the norm,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think our biggest problem right now is we're just at that time where we're all adjusting. And it's number one, we're adjusting to the change because we liked it,
Mm-hmm.
for the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
There were some challenges and it was unfortunate for buyers, but we had lots of business, so it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now that it's slowing down a little bit and it's getting a little bit more on the normal side, I think we just all had to adjust. And we
Right.
had to, but I think there were a lot of people that were in fetal positions because they were terrified that they'd never see another loan again, or they'd never sell another house again, or they'd never see another buyer again.
It started to look like that a little bit, didn't it?
And we had the discussion. We were like, okay, what? I mean, I have to laugh because I'm always thinking to myself, where did the buyers go?
Right.
Well, and then are they paying cash? Are they still paying cash? And I had an agent tell me the other day that people are still paying cash because they're not making any money on their investments.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I don't want a mortgage payment, so I'll just pay cash, instead of thinking, well, maybe I need to hang on to my cash a little bit more because of where we are in the economy, where everything's questionable. So, of course, I'm pushing for people to save their money and
Right.
use my money.
Right.
That's what I want them
Right.
to do.
Right.
But there are still a lot of buyers out there that are paying cash,
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. I know you like that.
Yes, it's a easier deal.
Yeah.
But
Well, is it really is easier when you're dealing with me?
oh, not with you, no.
I just had to put a little plug
because
in there.
The communication's there.
Right.
You see me start signing. Communication. The communication's there with you.
Yeah.
It's different. Like I don't hear from the other
Yeah,
lenders like
yeah,
I do with you,
yeah.
and
Well, that's probably because they're not local and they don't have that relationship too.
mm-hmm.
It's funny that you just mentioned that you were signing to me. So one of the cool things about you, which I remember when we first met, we did a couple of deals where you are, is it
ASL,
ASL, and which is stands for,
American Sign Language.
and so you also service the deaf community,
Yes,
and that's a very unique situation in real estate. I can't imagine how tough that would be for someone who was hearing impaired to
right,
not be able to understand the process.
right.
And I was very it was very cool for me because I got to learn a lot about that process and how it worked.
We had a couple of them,
Yeah,
didn't we? A
yep,
couple of deaf that we worked together with.
and it was nice to see that, because you always wonder, how to get that information across if
Mm-hmm.
you're not.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a great trait of yours, and it just goes to tell what kind of person you are too.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's their first language typically.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them have been deaf since birth. It's their main language.
Right.
So you wouldn't expect someone that speaks another language to
Right.
come in and
Explain and
yeah,
understand. And
yeah, you get
understand.
an interpreter.
Yep.
So I am not a certified interpreter. I am fluent in American Sign Language. So when it comes down to the contract and those type of explanations, I always hire
And that's what I think we did. Yeah,
a
I think.
certified interpreter. Very important that it's explained to them in their own language.
And so that they're going over the contractual stuff, so
Yes.
that there's no question that they got
Right.
the right information.
Right.
So that's a very, I think that is a very unique. I've never met any other agent that did that, so I bring it up for that reason because I think it's just one more feather in your cap, of things, and it also it tells me a lot about, just the kind of person that you are,
Well,
and
thank you.
I think you're just wonderful. So do you have any feeling of where the market's going to go next year? What are you hearing?
I'm hearing that it's just going steady. It's going to go back to normal, and I do see it. I see
Yeah.
the pickup. Out of the 4 that I just went under contract with, 3 are with lenders and 1 is cash.
Yep.
So that's looking more normal.
Yep.
And I think it's just gonna. It's that locomotion. It just had a hard time getting started.
Well,
Those few months.
everybody was in shell shock.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
was,
And a lot of the sellers, they were looking. Well, my neighbor, they got $100,000 more than what we thought they were going to get, and I said, but you can't even factor in that market. You can't even factor it in.
no, and it's a good thing that we're out of it because it was.
It was
I mean, if we were being honest, and we are, we're in a sales profession, so obviously, there were positives to it, but at the end of the day, it couldn't last.
right.
So the bubble had to pop at some point, and I just don't think anybody was prepared for it to be as abrupt as it was, as the way that it happened,
Right.
as quickly as it happened. Because usually you have a little bit of a trend that you start seeing. You're able to say, okay, things are changing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The market's shifting.
Mm-hmm.
This was,
yeah.
bam, we're done.
Boom.
Yeah. Now you're going to have a high interest rate, and you still have a high market price on that home.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really it really hurt a lot of folks that weren't the 55 plus community, that are the financially sound people, the ones that are first time home buyers, the ones that are families, maybe upsizing and trying to up, their homes, because not only are they dealing with less buying power because the rates are up, but the price of the house is up.
Right.
So the challenge from a lending standpoint that I've had personally, probably in the last 4 months, is not the lack of people wanting to buy, is can we fit them into a product? And so one of the things that, with prime lending that we're constantly doing is developing other products, because we have to do something. We have to make home ownership affordable because it controls so much of our economy. And if we don't find a way there, with the younger folks out there, they're the ones that are going to be buying. They're the ones that their families are getting bigger. If we can't figure out a way to make it more affordable, and I think we're going to see. I was talking to my regional the other day, and I was saying, back in the day when it crashed, what did we have to do? What did we do to generate business? Because I mean, most at that time, it was the lenders that were gone. I mean, most of the lenders left.
Mm-hmm.
And but I said, when I remember getting out of the non QM type business like bank statement programs, um, no income documentation, that kind of stuff. I didn't really do a lot of that because I wasn't a proponent of it because it, I mean, yeah, you could, somebody was going to do it, but I just wasn't going to be the one. But anyway, but what we could do is like with FHA, we
Mm-hmm.
could do a 5-year arm and drop that rate significantly so where they could take a choice of a 30-year fixed or put them in a 5-year fixed arm because what I tell everybody, even today, is if you get a rate today and you're at 6.5% today, and even if you do a buy down, if you do a flex buy down and you get down to 4.5 for the first year, 5.5 the second year, back up to 6.5 for the rest of the term.
Mm-hmm.
On the third year, no matter what you are paying today, you are going to refinance when the rates drop.
Absolutely.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, it will.
So what we were able to do back then to kind of stimulate the growth and stimulate the market and the economy again, because real estate does control so much of the economy, was we came up with programs. And
Mm-hmm.
what were those programs? Well, like the 5-year fixed arm for government loans. So these people who have no money typically, or they have low down payments with FHA or whatever, if the rate was 6.5% and they were getting a 5-year fixed at 4%, it gave them affordability, it gave them more buying power, and those are things that we have to do today. And I mean, I am probably the biggest mouth in prime lending right now because I've been through this before. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen what you can do to a market, to a housing market, and crush it if you don't, figure out how to get those kind of folks into houses.
Right.
And so that's one way. I mean, the flex programs, and I know the buy downs that
Mm-hmm.
everybody's talking about right now,
Mm-hmm.
which is great. The and having seller concessions that we haven't had in 2 years.
Right. We haven't.
And the sellers were like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not giving you anything. You're paying me
No.
more money.
Right.
The contract
And
price
I'm
is,
doing less.
yeah. So I mean, all these things that that we can go out there and advocate for to spring people back into the market is, like I said, in the last 3 weeks, because there was a little bit of a dip in the rate, just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It brought those people. It brought more people. So to your point, seeing more contracts, seeing things happening, it doesn't take much to build the confidence of a buyer,
Mm-hmm.
but we got to get there. We got to do it. And
Right.
so back to what I was talking about yesterday with one of my with my regional was what what do we need to do as a partnership, as a lender and or agent, or what can a lender do to help you more, because it is going to get better, but we're also looking at um, is it going to be the first quarter of next year before things start coming better? Do we need to survive through the next 3 months? Is it 2 quarters? What is it going to be? What can we do to stimulate the difference between the listings and the buyers right now? Because I do believe there is a disconnect. I mean, yeah, we're getting some traction, but it's not enough to keep us in business for the rest of our lives. So we need to do something, because if the listings are taking longer,
Mm-hmm.
to sit out there, and the buyers are taking their time, because I do think there's a little bit of buyers psyche right now, that they think they're in the driver's seat, and maybe they are.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they are
A little bit.
a little bit more than they were,
Right.
but that's just enough to slow them down, from because they're waiting for the prices to come down,
Mm-hmm.
or they're waiting because what do they see all the time on social media when agents are marketing their listings and stuff? And I mean, everything I see on social media right now is price reduction,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So every time that somebody does that and markets it, I cringe,
Mm-hmm.
and I like, stop doing that. Don't do that. But I know they're trying to stimulate someone to take interest in that home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what other things can we do that can help sellers, from from having to do price reductions all the time, because that is probably the worst thing in the world we can do in this market is lower prices,
Mm-hmm.
because it's going to affect us long term. And especially all the people that bought high in the last 2 years. I mean, it can hurt them.
Right.
So what I mean is, and I know that you work with builders, and I know that you work in the 55 plus communities, but with your listings, do you ever think, oh gee, if I could call Debbie and say, why can't you do this, this, and this, or could you do this and that? It would help you sell that house better. Or is there anything that you ever think of on the lending side that we can do to help?
Give me some ideas.
Yeah, because I mean, I'll tell you, and that's what we do all day long right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about, what can we do to partner to help, because the listings are not the problem.
Mm-hmm.
People are listing; they're just not selling fast enough, and the buyers aren't going after it fast enough. So I think that's probably something that we can continue that conversation tonight at
Yeah,
dinner
yeah.
with a glass of wine.
I think that
Because
sounds good. Good idea.
yeah, but I mean, we have to. I mean, we almost have to kind of get outside of our normal thinking, and what because I would love to be able to go back to my team and go, this is what we need, this is what the agents need, this is what they're asking for. And outside of the one thing we don't have control over is lowering rates.
Right.
And in fact, I was when Brandon and I were talking about it yesterday, I was like, because I don't have the ability to just go, let's just drop this rate, and that would change the whole world right now. And I go, yeah. He goes, so what? There's got to be other options that we can do. So we're working on stuff, and it's probably going to be more product driven.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I told you about, one of the things that Prime Lending is doing right now is, if we have and it's in at some point in the next year. I mean, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, all conventional and probably government, they all have arms. They have the adjustable rate mortgages, and they all have that. Um, but they're priced so high, and the cost for that arm rate is costing massive points for that rate. So we came up with a conventional, proprietary, conventional 5-year fixed arm,
Mm-hmm.
7-year, and a 10-year, and which I don't recommend people to go past 5, because again, they're going to refinance.
Right.
But I mean, if I were to do that today, as opposed to what the current rates are, and I can offer them at 6.25 with no points for 5 years, and as a fully amortized loan, every single customer I pitch that to, it's a no-brainer,
Mm-hmm.
because rates had got up to 7.625 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
So now they're still charging points even if the rates are lower.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things that we came out with, and I don't know, I think well, this month I think I actually closed 6 of them. So it's super easy. It's a great product, and it's every customer that I pitched it to, they're like, well, that's a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't I take that? Because again, you're either going to pay it off, or you're going to move, you're going to buy a different house or whatever, or you're going to refinance. Those That's a definite. I could almost bank my paycheck on that, on a guarantee.
Right.
Um, so we have to do a really good job right now, and I can commit that I know people are working on it daily. It's just that product development
Mm-hmm.
of what else can we do? Do 40-year mortgages, do something to make those payments less for
Mm-hmm.
those people, because the pricing of the houses are not going down.
Right.
So the rates probably aren't going to go down for the next year and 2 years, not to that level that they were. So longer term, maybe. I mean, who would thought? There's some companies out there I've heard recently that are talking about 50-year mortgages.
Really?
I don't like it, but if it gets them into an affordable payment and they refinance it,
Mm-hmm.
why not?
No brainer.
No brainer. So let's see. What was the other thing I wanted to talk to you about? Because um, I was at an event this week, and they came up with some really amazing um, information that I hadn't heard about. And one of the things, because everybody talks about the millennium.
Millennium?
Thank you. Um, and they always talk about those are the next folks that are really buying it, which is true. And they're the ones that are coming up and they're going to be buying. But what they were talking about was the multifamily living. And
Mm.
they're seeing a lot of that right now.
Mm-hmm.
So all these people are, either moving their parents in, their elderly parents in, so they're upsizing their home, which is a good opportunity. Or kids, maybe because they can't afford the rents, because the rents are so high right now, they're going back and buying a bigger house now to do that multifamily. And it's a concept that is in other countries all over the place, but we are very slow at thinking about that. But I can tell you, I had one agent on Monday tell me he's closed 5 transactions with the same family that has just continually changed the way, based off parents passing away or parents getting elderly. They're selling their house, moving them in to their new house with the kids. The kids saying the house is too small now, so then they sell that house. So there's a lot of opportunity, I think, with that concept, because not only do we have a housing shortage, an inventory shortage, but the rental is astronomical.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's all kinds of things I think that we're going to see. So what are your plans for Christmas this year?
I usually go up to Georgia, so that's the plan.
Okay. And how long will you stay?
Just a few days.
Okay, so you'll be there to watch all the grandkids?
Watch them open their gifts.
Okay, well,
so
see,
exciting.
They all come to my place.
Do they?
Yes, so they know that they can expect, Santa has a better load at my house. So they tend to definitely decide to come there. But so I'm looking forward. I love the holidays. I call it the silly season and it starts right after Thanksgiving. But with the parties and the get-togethers and getting to be around people, I just love this time of the year.
Right, the calendar's getting full. It really is. Yeah, it's very exciting.
Well, I'm hoping that you have a phenomenal 2023.
Thank you.
And I hope that I'm part of it.
You will be, absolutely.
And if there's anything I can ever do for you, you can always just give me a call. And once again, just thanks so much for coming in today. I know you took time out of your busy day to do this, but I really wanted the world to know who Kimberly was, and what your story was. And it is a good story.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate it.